add my initial wallet, but then it um, wanted to do it a different way, and I went back in and it wouldn't let me edit it. So I have to go back in and edit it to have it use the wallet that I want to use, because I had initially, based on their instructions, set up a BNB, like, so that it could would receive to BNB, whatever. But I'll fix that today. All right, everyone. Just letting you guys know, we are live. Today is April 2nd. As a very brief reminder, we are not financial experts. Anything we say is purely speculative. We're just trading together. We're just having fun and documenting our journey. We're going from $250 to $1 million, as long as it takes, taking you guys along for that ride with us, showing you the good, the bad, the ugly, and trying to make sure that we show you what we're learning so that we can help you be more efficient with your time. Stephen, I know, were you on the call this morning?
Yes, yeah, I was with
Okay.
Donnie this morning.
Can you
After
elaborate?
fuel.
Yeah, could you just speak a little bit about like what Donnie was saying about two things? Number one, about the impact of the president's speech, and then number two, what he does during times like that.
The impact is you don't know what it's going to be, and it's usually adverse to whatever your position is. So he doesn't trade.
Right.
He said when he speaks, he doesn't trade. He
Right.
doesn't know because the reaction is unpredictable. He could say something you think is positive, towards oil or gold, and it doesn't. It goes to reverse. So he's learned not to trade. Just take
Yep.
a time out for a moment. He really waited till this morning, till the markets opened, before he started looking at some trades.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I mean, I went to get in last night.
Yeah.
And just said nope.
Right.
I don't even know why, but I was just like, I think this is gonna. I'm like, I mean, he could say something right now and then turn around and say something different in 5 minutes that impacts everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am not touching this with a 40-foot pole. And as you can see right here, I'm just bringing up the 1 hour on gold. Can you see that?
Yes.
Perfect. So this is, I mean, let's look at the time. He spoke at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. last night. What happens? We end up going to here at 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. I was sound asleep at 2 in the morning as it started to baseline, and potentially now it's kind of been consolidating right at the 66. I know Donnie did say this morning when we were talking that what he's looking for it to do right now is he's looking to see, is it going to come back to 45.70, which is, I mean, I have this demand zone down here, but he's looking for it to come back to right about here and then see what it does. He said if it comes back to here, then we're going to see, is it going to bounce and come back up, or is it going to continue down? That's pretty much what I'm watching and monitoring. And another thing you see, though, when I'm taking a look at this, and if you see this too, Stephen, is we have the 200 down here. Actually, yeah, I'm not going to get rid of everything, but we have the 200 down here. So that's our base right now, and it's right inside a demand zone as well. So we have a couple of zones right here. We also have the 20 in the middle of this demand zone, which is now a supply zone. I got to mark this up. I didn't mark up this chart this morning. So actually, I'm going to spend a split second doing that. So this one right here, demand zone, became a supply zone, and is still a supply zone. So this is supply zone flipped 1, the way that I'm recording it, template, supply zone flipped 1. This one, well, what the heck, where's this? This goes way back, okay? All right, so this is, I think, initially, all right, so this is not flipped. This was a supply zone that got flipped into a demand zone. I got to find a way to more efficiently move across here. All right, supply zone got flipped into a demand zone. That's flipped 2, got flipped into a supply zone. So this one is now supply zone flipped 2. So one more time, if this gets broken, it's gone.
Right.
This one was a demand zone that got flipped into a supply zone and is still a supply zone. So that's supply zone flipped 1, and that's what I think that already is set to. Yep. And then this one right here, demand zone. I don't think this one got flipped. No, I know it didn't. Demand zone got flipped into a supply zone. So flipped one, got flipped into a demand zone. If this candle breaks this right here, this whole zone is gone. We got 35 minutes left. So if this candle closes above this, we're getting rid of this zone. But we also have another demand zone that formed right here. And this is why I created these templates. It just makes me a lot faster with identifying that
Yeah,
information.
we saved them. We talked about that before previously. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm just going to mark up this supply zone really quick. Actually, I'm just going to mark down this base. I'm not even going to mark it as a supply zone because it's pretty much already set. Alt J. And I'm going to do that as a resistance line and base. There we go. And I'm actually going to flip this because this bothers me the way that it looks on the screen, and I'm going to flip it to the top. There we go. All right, so that's what I'm looking for on the 1 hour. Now see, it's staying right there off the 20 and it bounced right off the 20, but there's a lot of structure inside here. So I'm just kind of watching that consolidation, not taking any action now until it drops either way above or way out. And it would have to go down to here for me to pay attention. Ideally, 45.70 is what I'd be looking for, like Donnie said right here. But I'd be looking to see what it does when it breaks this structure down here. On the 4 hour, this demand zone's holding. This supply zone got flipped to a demand zone. Got flipped to a supply. This is demand zone, supply zone, demand zone, supply zone. So this is supply zone flip 2. And knucklehead me just made that change on the 1 hour, not the 4 hour. So let me fix that. There we go. Template, 4 hour, supply zone. No, it's a demand zone. Supply zone, got flipped to a demand zone once. Got flipped back to a supply zone twice. Oh, this one's gone. 1. Supply zone, flip to a demand zone. Supply zone, flip 2. Demand zone, flip 2. That's what it is. Okay. I want to get rid of that support line and base. It's just confusing there. All right. And this one right here, we had again, supply zone. Got flipped to a demand zone. 1. So flipped 1, flipped 2 to a supply zone. And it's back to a demand zone. This one's gone. Supply zone, flip to a demand zone, so flipped 1. And what we're looking for there, just to repeat, is we're looking for it to break structure 3 times. So when it breaks for the 3rd time, we eliminate it. And I don't think this is broken structure. So we had supply zone, demand zone, supply zone. So this is flip 2. Come on. Okay. And that's where we're going to sit on that. I am going to get rid of these 2 lines that I know they were here before, but I don't need them for right now. And again, even on the 4 hour, if I'm taking a look at RSI is now pointing straight up on the 4 hour. And Jerome is right at the daily high above 50. So curious to see what it's going to do when it hits right here, when it hits the 10, which is Jerome. So just watching that. I'm not really actively doing anything on that too, more just watch it.
Yeah.
If I flip over to Euro USD, often you'll see what's up?
Yeah, after you get on that, I'll bring up. You talk about oil. How he talked about oil after you talk.
Actually,
about
why don't you talk about that right now? Because I know you got to leave in a
Sure.
minute too. So why don't you talk about that?
He talked. He said a price at 115. I don't know where oil is right now. That he was looking to sell. That if it hit 115, he was looking for a sell on oil, and he's cautious on oil in our trading class. You know, on making his suggestions, but he was
Yep.
strong on that number. And then he had that, and then his other call today was Bitcoin, and he was really actively watching Bitcoin, and he likes trading on the 4 hour, and he was looking at a buy like at 65. I think that he was talking about.
So let's go to Bitcoin quick. Bitcoin. And he trades Bitcoin on the 4 hour and the daily, correct?
Yes.
And what was he looking for there? 65 on a buy?
Yeah.
65 on the buy. Okay. So I'm just going to set an alert.
And then he XRP, he looks to acquire XRP. So
yes.
Which I get a Dodi Days of. My son is 39 is XRP, and it's just so I already heard from him today.
Yeah, it's down to 128. Wow.
Yeah, and Donnie talked about maybe it goes to $1. He didn't have a reason why, and it was just some speculation talk. But my son is just every day he buys what he can get, and he also doesn't. There are different exchanges you can buy it on where you can actually get better pricing. So he gets significantly better. Like if it's at $1.28 right now, he might be like picking it up like around $1.20.
Okay.
And if people want those, or you want that, Mike, I can get specifically what he goes to and where he goes, because it's actually you go and there are brokers that'll bring you. Okay, I've got this available today at that price, and you're saving like 10 points on it almost like all the time.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something I'm very interested in because I'll
get that. Yep.
Yeah, I'm acquiring XRP as well at a much slower pace. I should be doing it a lot higher, but I'm sooner rather than later we'll be able to do that. Just waiting on something to arrive. Yeah. So okay, no, that's good to hear. And then same thing with XRP right here. Yeah. Okay. And what is that? Just out of curiosity, I went down to 118, 111. So he said it could go down as far as $1.
Yeah.
I'm just going to set an alert and I'll clean it up after. But yeah, let me get rid of all those alerts. Yeah, so then one of the things I do in here too when I want to clean up an alert, I want to see something that's active and I want to see something that's on the current symbol. So I'm in XRP, so there it is right there. So that just really helps me kind of streamline and find it. And then I like to make a note that says XRP daily hit $1. Buy now. Nice and simple. Just as an extra reminder in case I'm not paying attention and that comes through, because I found that's what I find. I can't tell you how many times I've set an alert and life has happened. Work's happened, life's happened, and I'm not paying attention because I could be in the middle of 1,000 things. But if I get a pop-up saying like that's a great deal.
Yeah.
That's a great deal.
Yeah, and
so I mean right now is a great deal.
Yeah, my son's view, he's just buying it to hold. It's his retirement. That's for years down the road. He says I'm being disciplined enough not to touch it.
Yeah, there's a lot of news talking about what's going on. If you look at this too, I mean, it's not straight down, but it's pretty steep. We're at
Yeah.
like what 5 o'clock right
Right.
there
Yep.
on the RSI. So that's definitely going to be happening sooner rather than later. Nice. Okay.
On that note, Mike, I've got mother
You
who's
got
in
it.
the hospital, and I have to get over to there, so I cut short today.
All right.
Catch everybody tomorrow, and have a good trading day. I'm gonna catch up with you later. Well,
Sounds good. And I hope your mom's feeling better soon, Steve.
thank you. Yeah, quick talk. I'll give you a call later today. Quick talk about women. Thank you.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to go into, we talked about this on Euro USD. I think it's 1.15. I'm going to take a look at the alerts we have here. 1.15. I'm going to set that alert and clean it up. Oh, you know why? I set that on the 1 hour. Yeah, and see right now it came up here, went to the 50 on this demand zone, and now it's pulling back. So we're just trying to watch to see what it's doing. Donnie was saying this morning as well, when you have these really long wicks like we have here, and this is a big candle and a big wick, that this wick is typically going to have to be filled. We also have an E3 cross happening here where the 66 is crossing the 200. So that's a cross. But we also have the 20 crossing down. So curious to see as this 20, if the 20 can get above the 66 and we can have a true E3 cross. Very curious to see what would happen there. Right now we have some resistance at the 200 on the 1 hour. And we're just waiting to see what that does. Again, I'm not actively in this. If I look at the RSI is through Jerome, and it looks like it's bouncing off the 50 right there. So let's see what it does. And it's coming back down. Let's see how far back it pulls. So this was a support line, became a resistance line, and then no, this candle's still live. So this is still a resistance line. It's a lot of movement too. It's pretty active, and that's a long wick. Look at that. Let's just measure that. The size of that wick, my goodness. The size of that wick is what? 20 pips, roughly. Where I'm paying attention to is Donnie had said that it could cross all the way down to 15. So if it comes down to 1.15, and I'm going to say crossing down, Euro USD hit 1.15. Buy now. Sorry. Got it. All right, so we have that alert set on Euro USD. The other alert that we were talking about is Bitcoin. Bitcoin's in a buy. Did it ever come back to that number? Alerts. active, current symbol, current time interval. Okay, let me see here. Okay, so if we go here, let me change the time frame here to daily. And let's refresh this. And again, I believe the number was 65 that he had mentioned. Now, did we do that on the 4 or the daily? Excuse me. So if I set that, get rid of the current time interval. These are all Einstein scanners. So I believe what he had said was 65. I was on a different call, so I was not on that call. So I'm going to set this at 65. Bitcoin 4-hour crossing down to 65,000. Review by. And then I want to have it be only once, and I want it to be crossing down. Okay. So now we got those alerts set. What do we have here? Do we have any crosses? Let's see what's going on. So we have a bunch of resistance lines. There's a cross heading down to 66 below. Where's the 20? The 20s. Oh, that's a true E3 cross as of right here. So we got the 66 broke the 200, and you got the 20, which broke the 200, and the 20 had already broken the 66 back here, which led to this. Then you have a close above right here. So that breaks that plan. And then right here, it dives down again. All right, so that's just something that we're monitoring. Again, I'm going to go back to gold for a minute. All right, so Einstein had called we're on the 4-hour. Einstein had called a sell, and it's hitting TP2. It already hit TP2, so that was a great sell. Now, what do we have here? We have an E3 cross again. Okay, so right here, the 66 crossed below the 200, and the 20 was already below the 66. So that's, again, a full or a true E3 cross. That typically indicates you're going to see a downtrend. And on this right here, you had an engulfing candle. This is what happened here. This is why this alert was triggered, people. Okay, so we have an engulfing bearish candle. This is a demand zone. It's a small demand zone, but this does create a small demand zone. So I'm just going to draw that out so you can see what I'm talking about. We're on the 4-hour chart here. So we're going to draw this out. 4-hour supply zone. The next candle, we waited for it to pull back. It pulled back to the 50 on the supply zone, and then it went. So that was a very strong entry, either at the back wall here, or especially the 50. Even the front wall was a great entry. But on that scenario, we talked about this on Monday. When this scenario happens where you have an engulfing candle, and this is engulfing this bullish candle right here. So the bearish candle is engulfing the bullish candle. When that happens, you wait for the pullback to come into the demand zone, at least hit the front wall. I like to play it at the 50. If you wanted to wait to the back wall, you can, but if you waited to the back wall on this, you just missed. But I just want to show you what happened. This is why you need to have patience and you got to understand. So I would have taken it down to either the 10 or the 200 would have been my next mark where I would have tried to take this down to. I also would have taken a look at this down all the way down to here. But considering the 200 was just below, I would have looked to take this down. I mean, the 20, not the 200. I would have looked to take this down to the 20. So if you look at what happened, actually see if I can do that replay. So I'm going to go back to here. All right. So what we have happened is this candle is here. The next candle we get, start playing it out. This candle forms. Sorry, I want to go one candle at a time. Okay. So we get this candle. And now this candle forms right there. Or we got the bullish candle. We have a bullish candle, bearish candle, bullish candle. What happens next? Okay. So right off the bat, we get this bearish candle. So now, next candle that comes up after this bearish candle, after it closes and it's confirmed fully engulfing, we're waiting for it to pull back into the demand zone. Again, for me, I would have been waiting for it to hit this 50 mark. Once it hits that, I'm going into a sell. And I would have taken the sell down to here, down to 1.3380. That's where I would have taken the sell down to. Next candle. Shot way below that. Okay, so once it comes down to here, now this is a demand zone. So once it got past here, I would have strongly considered, do I care about jumping back in once it broke structure on the 20 to come all the way down to this demand zone? And what did it do? It hit the back wall of the demand zone and then turned around. Okay, now hold on one second here. Right off the bat here, now we have another engulfing bullish candle. Okay, so we have this right here, and then we have this bearish candles engulfing. So that means in this scenario, this creates another supply zone right here. So I have to wait for this candle to pull back into this zone. If it doesn't, I'm not going to take it down. So in this scenario, I would not have taken it down. And this is a live candle. So if this live candle happens to pull all the way back into here, then I will get in on a sell and I will take it down. Now, if I want to take a look at what I would take it down to, I need to understand where my structure is. And I don't have structure below here because it's been a long time. So let me go back and find structure below that line. Oh. There we go. So this is my structure. So I'm going to create a line here. I'm going to make this a support line and base. Template, support line and base. I'm going to make this support line and low. And what the, I'm slightly off there. Sorry, guys. I got to bring that down a little bit more. And now what I need to do is make sure that I define, this is a liquidity zone. Okay, so this is where people are going to come in and sell. So they can get, this is where there's going to be, people are going to get ready to sell all the trades that are coming down. Then we get, this is a buyer zone where buyers are going to be able to start jumping in. So I am going to take this template and I'm going to make it liquidity zone buy side. So now let's take it all the way back to the present time. And I could go straight there, but I want you guys to see just how long this is. I mean, that candle that we just marked, that structure that we just found, I just want to go back really quick. I mean, this, we're talking February 5th at 7 p.m. And I don't think there's, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So let's go all the way back over here. Getting there.
Right back,
back?
on XRP.
Yep. So I'm just trying to show this on XRP right here because it's one of the things we talked about today. But if I'm looking for XRP, I said, now we have what we've been talking about, Don, is on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And I played it back. So I'm going to do a replay again. I said right here. Okay, so right here we have, sorry, replay. Go back to here. My computer's hanging up a little bit, but there we go. All right, so right here, okay, let's start it from here. So next candle forms, bearish. Okay, so right there we had an engulfing candle.
Yeah.
And then we had, this did create a demand zone. So this next candle, we have to wait, I said, for it to pull back into the demand zone. I said, I like to target the 50. Donnie said at least the front wall. I said, if you waited to get to the back wall, you would have missed.
Yeah.
So waiting for it to hit the back wall, get in. If you got in, I said, now I would have taken it down to the 20. This would have been my exit. I would have considered this, but I would have unequivocally said the 20 is my target. I would have taken it down to the 20. Now, once this candle broke the 20, I would have given it a quick look and said, okay, well, I don't see anything else blocking it, so I'm going to take it down. I might jump back in and take it all the way down to this demand zone.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I could do, if I had the ability to babysit this trade, then what I would have done is I would have set it for the front wall of the demand zone, just behind it, and I would have manually made the decision right here based on what it did at the 20, and I would have manually got out of it. But if I wasn't going to babysit it, this is what I would have done. Now, what's happened on this right now, and this is why it's a good example, this is what happened. So we had a small bearish candle, a bullish candle, and then we had another engulfing bearish candle. Now, I don't want to muddy the waters here, but I'm going to do it just for a second. So this creates a supply zone. So in order for me to get in on this, candle, I am waiting till it comes back to here. If this candle, which still has an hour and 6 minutes left, if this candle happens to come all the way back and pulls into this supply zone, especially if it reaches the 50, I'm getting in. Now, if you want to see how far down that goes, we just had to go all the way back to February 5th to find structure. And there it is.
That was a while ago.
Yep. Almost 2 months.
So that was wild. And I'm looking at the pricing too. I mean, it's if you were hodling, it's definitely been a good time to buy XRP from that standpoint. Yep. From a trading standpoint, it's good whether it's going up or down.
Yep. And Donnie said today it could go down as far as $1.
Wow.
Steven shared that today. So this is something that in addition to trading, he's just buying to own, because this is a lot of very positive predictions on this, even though it's not adhering to what the rest of the market's doing. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. As we've talked about, it's coming. So, I mean, today, guys, Don, I know you have a hard stop and I have a hard stop shortly. Today was a shorter call, but we just wanted to share with you the information we got and provide a couple of examples. All right, so we kind of updated the charts. We kind of showed you how we're updating that. We went through a few different things. Biggest thing is, again, guys, join us. Let's get on this quest together. Let's do this. This is fun. This is exciting. This can be life-changing, and it's a great supplemental skill to have at the least.
Indeed.
Don?
Yeah, no, you're spot on, and I love how you intertwine the ownership piece, because with Forex, you're trading,
Yep.
but you're trading the ups and downs of the market, which is pretty awesome. So it doesn't matter whether it's going up or down. You could profit, but at the same time, you're closely following certain things. Like if you're trading oil or you're trading XRP in this case, or Bitcoin, ETH, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You're seeing where the pricing is, and you're like, wow, I know that this is getting ready to turn around. I need to buy now. Or, hey, this is at a high point and it's going to be coming down. I should sell my, let's say, my XRP as an example, and then buy it back, in a couple of days or whatever it is, right? Once you get a feel for the market and you understand what's really happening out there, not that you're going to be right 100% of the time, but you can do pretty well. And it's just another way to profit.
Yeah, I mean, very simple. Let's say it goes down to $1. Let's say you buy $100. It goes down to $1, you buy 100. That dollar jumps up to 10. You just 10x your return over the course of a few days. I mean, that's a great return.
Yeah.
So that's all we're trying to say is just be aware. Again, we're going to share our insights in this community. I've already given the prerequisite that this is not financial advice. We're just sharing what we're doing, what we're learning. This is purely speculative, and we're just sharing what we're learning along the journey and documenting it step by step.
Indeed.
So, all right. Well, everyone will be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Please bring someone with you if you can. Add your comments to the chat. We'd love to engage with you guys on a bigger level, and let's help change lives. Right now, as you said yesterday, let's get in profit.
Indeed. Let's get in profit. Talk to y'all soon.